Beep beep! What is up, ninjas? My name is Semworld. In life, you're gonna have many choices. You can either one, go to a prestigious university, pay the money, that is the con, but you impress people and you have a higher chance of probably landing a job, that is the pros. On account of if you go to community college, the pro of it is it's cheaper, it might be closer to home, but the bad thing is that a lot of people look down on it and some people don't think it's as prestigious. Who cares though? But today, music production is the same. Today, we're gonna be looking at Reverbs on a return channel, which is a prestigious university in my opinion, because many people think that's the way to go, especially mixing engineers, versus having it on the channel, which I know a lot of us do. We learn on YouTube, we see our favorite artists doing it. So what is the correct way? Well, the good thing is that there is no right or wrong answer to this, guys. Each choice you make when it comes to putting it on a return or on the channel itself is going to come with pros and cons. And today we're going to be talking about those so that you can use both of these at the right time and do it smart and do it with a purpose. So my goal by the end of this video is for you guys to be educated on this matter, know the pros and the cons of each one, and be able to make an educated guess on what you should use on your track at that exact moment. There is no right or wrong when it comes to this, guys. Making music is an art form, and if you do it a certain way and it works for you, that is awesome. But the purpose of this video is just to open up the possibilities and give you options on what you can do and how you want to approach adding reverb to something. As always, guys, if you want to support my channel, make sure to head over to evosounds.com. In this video, we're going to be utilizing the new sound set coming out next week called Exploration, which is going to be a chill sound set inspired by, of course, Anjuna Deep and a lot of these nice chill artists like Bonobo, Apparat that I enjoy listening to. But with that being said, let's get straight into the content of this video. So first, let's discuss putting reverb on a return channel. Now, in order to make a return channel, you're going to right click here and you're going to insert return track. You can also do Ctrl-Alt-T as your command, so you can do it fast. Once you open that, you're going to have a new channel and you're going to notice that we're going to get a new send knob here. The idea here is that if you have, let's say, a channel with this lead, you're going to be able to send it to this channel here. Now, the key thing you must realize as we do this is that you keep the source material, aka this lead, dry, and it doesn't get lowered in volume, it doesn't go up in volume. It's just going to be sent to this channel. Now, in this channel, you're going to have your reverb, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cross over this reverb that we have. The important thing is that you got to make sure is that this reverb is at 100%, so you have the fully wet signal here. And now, as we send this lead there, so as you guys can see, we have the reverb in a separate channel now. So essentially here we are keeping the original dry signal, but you can kind of think as someone's bringing up a volume of reverb to go with it that fits it. So this leads us to our first pro of using a return channel, and that is the fact that you will always maintain your source material dry and strong. The reason I say this is a pro, guys, is because a lot of new beginners, newbies, or intermediate producers will go like, Sen, I have this lead in a track, right? And they put the reverb on the channel and they might push it a bit too much. And they're like, yo, my lead doesn't cut through the mix. It's in the back of the mix. This is something I saw a lot with Progressive House and Big Room. And this kind of prevents that from happening as we are not, again, lowering the volume of this guy. Now, for every good in life, there is bad. It's like a balance. That's why I have the yin yang tattoo here. So with this, it's the same thing. Its strength, it's its downfall. The fact that we can always maintain that dry signal helps out a lot. But the problem is that if you're trying to go for an atmospheric lead or you're trying to push the lead more in the back of the mix, it's a lot harder to achieve utilizing a return track because we always keep the dry signal. So if I put this on the channel now, and I move it up slowly, you're going to see that the lead actually gets pushed more to the back of the mix. It sounds more atmospheric as well if you push it far enough, because the idea here is that the dry and wet here is just volume control. The wet signal volume versus the dry signal volume. If you're at 50%, let's say they're both at 50-50, but as you start going up, the wet starts getting stronger and the dry signal starts getting lower. So at 75, you have 75% volume on the wet and 25% of the dry signal, so you're not going to hear the dry signal as much. But notice how that creates a lot more depth. It actually pushes the lead to the back of the mix. That is a pro of using the reverb on the channel, is that you can do that a lot easier. On account of if you had it on the return, it would be a lot harder to just do. And that is one of the pros and the cons that you can see. Here I have the send all the way up, but again, it's not pushing it to the back of the mix. So that is the first thing that you must realize with return reverbs versus reverbs on the channel. If you want to push stuff to the back of the mix a lot easier, go with the reverb on the channel. If you want to just add reverb, you want the lead to cut through the mix, you still want it to be there, put it on a return. Now, the next pro of having the reverb on the return channel is the fact that we have a little bit more control of the reverb. We can alter the reverb, we can distort the reverb without affecting the original source sound, the original lead that we just heard. So one of the things that we can do is we might have a reverb like so. And maybe we don't want it to be as bright. We can go in and use an EQ on it. Maybe we want it to not have too much lows. We can go ahead and EQ that out. That is a pro that comes with having the reverb on the return. The other thing too is that we can also sidechain the reverb to the lead, so that way the reverb never overtakes it. And to do this, we're just going to put a compressor audio from, and we're going to go to our serum lead. And now we have it so that the lead is essentially moving the volume down on the reverb. Now this works a lot better when the lead melody is actually resting and it's not a continuous arp. So if I hit something here, let's go to the lead here. Then the reverb is allowed out. I'm overdoing it right now so you can hear. As you can see. So that's one of the pros that we have the reverb on the return channel, is that we can control it. We can do a little bit more distortion, do whatever we want, compress it without affecting the original lead. Now, the next benefit is the strongest when it comes to having a reverb in the return channel. And that is the fact that you can route multiple things to that reverb, okay? This is gonna save CPU power like crazy, and it's also gonna help glue your mix a lot better. The biggest mistake I see people make is that they have like 5 different reverbs going off in their track, and this creates different dimensions, different rooms in the sound, instead of having one room that brings it all together. So for instance here, if I have my lead going to that reverb, I do have this vocal here. Well, now I can actually send that vocal to that same reverb. Now, on account of, if I did it on the channel and I say, oh man, you know what, I want that reverb as well on that, I would have to copy and paste it over, and now your computer has another reverb to worry about, and that's going to create a lot of CPU intensive power. Reverb is a great tool to, of course, put a sound in the room and give it space, but it's also good to bring everything together. As all the sounds get the same space, they feel like they actually belong together in a song. That is the most powerful pro you're going to get from the reverb being on the return channel. So to review, the pros of having the reverb on a return channel is, one, you're always going to keep that dry source material, so it helps prevent your lead just getting pushed to the back of the mix, not sounding tight, not sounding strong. That is the first pro of it. The second thing is going to be the fact that you're going to be able to process the reverb separate from the lead itself, from whatever you're putting reverb on. You can compress it, you can sidechain, you can EQ. It's a lot cleaner. You can also control the volume of the reverb a lot better without, again, messing the original signal, messing the lead that you already had mixed. Third benefit is that you're going to be able to route multiple instruments to that reverb, saving CPU power and being able to glue the mix together a lot better. Now, the cons of having the reverb on a return is the fact that it's going to be a lot harder for you to actually push stuff to the back of the mix. You're not going to be able to do that, as you're always going to have that dry source material. You're never going to be decreasing the volume of that. The other thing is going to be the fact that if you're doing sound design, if you're trying to create an atmosphere and atmospheric lead, it's going to be a lot harder to do it, because again, that powerful pro that we have with the reverb on the return, it's also the downfall of it if you're trying to create a sort of atmosphere. It's better to have the reverb there for sound design in that case. With that being said, now you know what you want to use your returns for, and you can make a decision on that. Now let's move on to having your reverb on the channel instead of having it on the return. Now, the first pro of putting reverb on the channel is the fact that you can smoothen out harsh sounds, or you can make sounds like super sauce just sound a lot more mystical and atmospheric, as the reverb is actually being placed on top of the sound. The biggest example of this is if you listen to Dimitri Vangelis and Wyman or Third Party, a lot of their leads just have that nice reverb sound that is just sitting on top of it. It's not like, it doesn't sound like someone put it on a return and they just brought it up, but in fact, it actually sounds like the reverb is part of the lead. So in order to do that, we would just put the reverb on the return channel, and if we play this, And finally, the last thing I have to say, if you're going to be doing this, is if you're going to have multiple layers to the lead, make sure that you're running them all into a bus and the reverb is on the bus channel. In order to do this in Ableton, you just hold Control. You're going to highlight the ones you want, and then you're going to Control G them to create a group, call it the lead group, and then just put your reverb there. This is going to give you the pros of having sort of like the return channel in a way, where you're going to save a lot of CPU instead of having 3 reverbs going off from each silent. Another thing I see a lot too is that people will leave the reverb from the preset when they're layering. That is totally wrong. You want to get rid of the reverb so you save the CPU power, and then you have one reverb going off here. If you feel like the reverb from silent is giving it that sound, even when you put this reverb on, it might be fine to leave it. There are exceptions, but a lot of times it's just the fact that you just need a little bit more reverb, or you just like the reverb that silent one has inside of it, which I believe is a hall, a lot more than the one that you're putting on in the bus. The last pro of putting the reverb on the channel, guys, is that you can easily push stuff to the back of the mix a lot easier, like we explained in the beginning of the video. For instance, here I have this vocal in this track. Now, this muévelo, it seems like it's a bit too in the front. I actually want it in the back. So when I have the correct reverb with a higher size, because the higher size is going to make the reverb have less highs, it's going to push it more in the back, a bigger room, and I start to increase the dry and wet, it actually pushes it to the back of the mix a lot more. So now when we hear this again, makes it fit the song a lot more, as a lot of the song already has this sort of atmosphere to it. So having the right reverb and putting it on stuff that you want to push to the back of the mix is also a great thing to do. Now, the cons of having the reverb on your channels, guys, is that if you're doing it to the point of every channel, the kick, the clap, the hat, everything gets its own reverb, it's first off, a lot of CPU is going to be used up. So if you don't got a fast computer, this is going to cause issues. The next thing is going to be the fact that it's going to sound muddy, as you're going to have multiple reverbs going off, and reverbs have a tail to them, okay? It's an extra source material you've added, another sound, which is the reverb. And the more you have of it, the more you have to worry about. So if you only have one reverb on a return, you can create a lot of cool atmosphere with that. You can put sounds in a certain box and glue it together more than just having it on each individual part. And those are going to be the pros and the cons of having the reverb on a channel versus the return. My biggest advice to you guys is to keep doing what you're doing if it's giving you the right results. If it sounds good, you did a good job. However, next time you go into it, do have that open mind of like, maybe I should put my reverb on a return this time if I'm just going to go for a reverb that I'm going to put on multiple things. If you're pushing something to the back of the mix, and you might choose to have the reverb individually on just that one sound, while everything else is getting routed to your return reverb, and vice versa, guys. It's about making informed decisions and trying to mitigate the cons to get more of the benefits, more of the pros in the way you're going to set up your reverb. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to support my channel, make sure to check out Evil Sounds. If you enjoyed the sounds in this video, most of these sounds come from the Exploration sound set, which is a sound set for Serum, which will be coming out next week. With that being said, you guys have a great day, and now you know everything there is to know about putting a reverb on the return versus a channel.